सर हम लाइव हैं अब, तो आप स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं।
सही है। तो आज हम एक प्रैक्टिस टेस्ट करेंगे फुल, जितना हमारे से हो सका टाइम के अंदर। हम यहाँ से इस समय देख रहा था कि कौन सी गेम है। 12 6 देख सकते हैं। ओके, सो फर्स्ट पार्ट है, डायग्राम लेबल करनी है। वन वर्ड ओनली लिखना है हमने, ठीक है। और यहाँ पे नीचे हमने आंसर देने हैं इनके, ठीक है। अच्छा, सबसे पहले हम देख लेते हैं डायग्राम को। ये है क्रॉस सेक्शन ऑफ अ रोमन कैनॉट शाफ्ट। सही है। डैश मेड ऑफ वुड और स्टोन, इसके ऊपर ढक्कन सा है, और अटैच टू अ प्लम्ब लाइन रोड साइड पे है समथिंग हैंड होल्ड होल्ड यूज फॉर डैश क्वेश्चन क्वांट मेथड। सही है। डायरेक्ट वाटर एंड देन टू, ठीक है। हम जो हमारे पास कीवर्ड्स हैं, हम स्टार्ट वाला ये है फर्स्ट वाला, टू डायरेक्ट टनलिंग। तो हम कीवर्ड्स देख के इसको करते जाते हैं। टनल कंस्ट्रक्शन, आई थिंक हम जल्दी जल्दी सब पढ़ भी लेते हैं। The Persians who lived in the present day Iran were one of the first civilizations to build tunnels and that provided the reliable supply of water to human settlements in dry areas. In the early first millennium BCE, they introduced the Qanat method of tunnel construction, ठीक है। ये इसकी बात उसने स्टार्ट कर दी है। अच्छा, which consisted of placing posts over a hill in a straight line to ensure that the tunnel kept to its route। इसकी बात कर रहा है वो, सही है। और placing posts over a hill in a straight line to ensure that the tunnel kept its route, and then digging vertical shafts down into the ground at regular intervals as to direct the tunnels। Posts over a hill in a straight line। अच्छा, इसमें उसने डैश टू डायरेक्ट द टनलिंग, और यहाँ पे उसने कहा है कि द टनल मेथड, द टनल केप्ट टू इट्स रोड। तो मतलब उसकी डायरेक्शन को एक स्पेसिफिक वे में रखने के लिए वो उसमें वो पोस्ट लगाते थे। और आई बिलीव दीज आर द पोस्ट, और उस पे उसने वो जो एरो किया हुआ है, आई बिलीव कि ये इसी का बन रहा। देन हम एक दफा लिख लेते हैं। अच्छा, and then digging vertical shafts down into the ground at regular intervals, okay, ensure that the tunnel capacity, and then digging vertical shafts down into the ground at regular intervals, vertical shafts and testing pause, okay. Underground workers removed the earth from between the ends of the shafts, creating a tunnel. The evacuated soil was taken up to the surface using the shafts. Water runs into vertical shafts remove earth and pour. Workers remove the earth between the end of the shafts, creating a tunnel. Vertical shafts remove earth and pour. And all workers remove the earth from between the ends of the shafts. The excavated soil was taken up. Okay. Which also provided, sorry, the workers, which also provided the ventilation, move earth and make ventilation. So उसने कहा the
सर
excavated
इसका
soil was
कनाल
shaken.
आएगा,
Sorry.
इसका सर कनाल नहीं आएगा। नेक्स्ट लाइन में है वाटर टू फ्लो फ्रॉम द टॉप ऑफ अ
Once
हिल
the
साइड
tunnel
डाउन
was
टुवर्ड्स द
completed,
कनाल,
it allowed the water to flow from the top of the hillside down towards a canal.
which supplied water for human use.
Water runs into a dash used by local people. अच्छा सेकंड वाले का सॉरी हाँ ठीक है canal ही आएगा तो canal used by local people ठीक है. It allowed water to flow from the top of a hillside down towards a canal which supplied water for human use. Good हो गया. अच्छा remarkably some of the qanats built by Persians 2700 years ago are still in use today. It is removed and for third one फिर I think यहीं से होगा. Digging vertical shafts into the ground. Underground workers moved the earth from between the ends of the shafts, creating a tunnel. The excavated soil was taken up to the surface using the shafts, which also provided ventilation during the work. तो इसमें उनकी अच्छा और उसमें कॉपी पेस्ट का ऑप्शन भी होता है तो इन दैट केस इसमें मतलब ये है कि आपके पास गलती के चांसेस कम हो जाते हैं रीडिंग में आप आंसर कॉपी पेस्ट कर सकते हैं जो वन वर्ड या टू वर्ड्स होते हैं. सही है. ओके अब आ जाते हैं हम आगे. The later they later passed on their knowledge to the Romans, who also used Kanat method to construct water supply tunnels for agriculture. Okay, Roman Kanat tunnels were constructed with vertical shafts dug at intervals of between 30 to 60 meters. The shafts were equipped with handholds and footholds. ये हमने ऊपर वाले में है ये सही है. To help those climbing in and out of them. तो यहाँ पे था handholds and footholds used for climbing. In and out of them and were covered with a wooden or stone lid. ये जो lid था उसका dash made of wood or stone lid. ठीक है wooden or stone lid. मैं कहीं पे कोई गलती करूं आपके हिसाब से कोई और आंसर आता हो तो बताना जरूर. अच्छा सही है. To ensure that the shafts were vertical, Romans hung a plumb line from a rod placed across the top of each shaft and made sure that the weight at the end of it weight attached to the plumb line. बढ़िया. अच्छा आगे आ जाते हैं. Do the following statements agree with the information given in the reading passage or not? True if the statement agrees with the information, false if the statement contradicts the information, and not given if there is no information on this. The excavation method completely replaced the Kanat method in the 6th century BCE. तो ये आ गया 6th century BCE. सही. अच्छा ये हो गया ना हमारी कंप्लीट 1 2 3 4 5 6 handles and footholds for climbing, water runs, lead, weight, climbing, force, transient technology. ठीक है. अच्छा, by the 6th century BC, a second method of tunnel construction appeared called the counter excavation method. Completely replaced the Kanat method in this. ठीक है. Second method of tunnel construction appeared. ठीक है. अच्छा, in which the tunnel was constructed from both ends. It was used to cut through high mountains when the Kanat method was not a practical alternative. This method required greater planning and advanced knowledge of surveying, mathematics, and geometry, as both ends of a tunnel had to meet correctly at the center of the mountain. Adjustments to the direction of the tunnel also had to be made whenever builders encountered geological problems or when it deviated from its set path. They constantly checked the tunnel's advancing direction. For example, looking at made corrections whenever necessary. Large derivations could happen. They could result in one of the tunnel not being usable and a inscription written on the side of a 428-meter tunnel built by the Romans as part of the Slade aqueduct system in modern day Algeria describes how the two teams of builders missed each other in the mountain and how the later construction of a lateral link between both corridors corrected the initial error. अच्छा इसमें all the in which the tunnel was constructed from both ends. Counter excavation method completely replaced. क्या ख्याल है इसका क्या होना चाहिए? क्योंकि उन्होंने यहाँ पे later on कहा है कि it was used to cut through high mountains when the Knat method was not a practical alternative. Whenever they encounter obstacles such as the mountain, temple, it's usually faster than a permanent was careful planning and being some type of techniques.
सर इसका पहले पैरे में नहीं है जवाब 7 क्वेश्चन का?
देख लेते हैं वर्षन से
उसमें
डिफरेंट
नहीं, पहले से मुराद को जो 60 वाला था, BCE वाला,
6
उसमें
वाला
देखे
बाय
ना।
द 6th century BCE
जी
ठीक
जी,
है इसमें
वो
कौन से वाला
वो देखे ना, इन विच द टनल वाज कंस्ट्रक्टेड फ्रॉम बोथ एंड्स, इट वाज यूज्ड टू कट थ्रू हाई माउंटेन्स व्हेन द कनात मेथड वाज नॉट अ प्रैक्टिकल अल्टरनेटिव।
हाँ वही मैं कह रहा था कि इसका वो क्या बन सकता है मतलब
ट्रू हो
इसका
सकता है इसका। तो लिखा हुआ द काउंटर एक्सकेवेशन मेथड कंप्लीटली रिप्लेस द कनात मेथड, काउंटर एक्सकेवेशन ने इसको रिप्लेस कर लिया था।
हाँ लेकिन completely replaced का मतलब है कि मतलब उसके बाद वो यूज ही नहीं होती थी दैट इज व्हाट आई अंडरस्टैंड फ्रॉम इट चलें बाद में देख
ठीक
लेते
ठीक
हैं
ठीक ठीक ठीक।
अच्छा only experienced builders were employed to construct a tunnel using the counter excavation method वर्कर्स के बारे में यहाँ पे तो बात नहीं हुई
ये लिखा है ना कि एडवांस नॉलेज ऑफ सर्वेइंग, जो आपने हाईलाइट किया हुआ है, व्हेन कनात मेथड वाज नॉट अ प्रैक्टिकल अल्टरनेटिव, इसके आगे।
this method required greater planning and advanced knowledge of surveying mathematics and geometric both ends of the under the mountain हाँ लेकिन इसमें जो वर्कर्स हैं उनकी हाँ in a sense builders were employed to construct a tunnel using the counter excavation method देख सकते हैं और भी कहीं पे मेंशन किया उन्होंने वर्कर्स के बारे में तो ये So, the information about problem that occurred during the construction of Slade aqueduct system was found in the ancient book. ये तो false है क्योंकि वो उसके अंदर लिखी हुई थी उन्होंने आई बिलीव जो टनल है उसके अंदर टनल यही भी थी ना Slade aqueduct ये रहा an inscription written on the side of a tunnel तो इस वजह से इसमें कहा गया है कि बुक पे लिखी हुई थी अच्छा the mistake made by the builders of the Slade aqueduct system was that at the two parts of the tunnel failed to meet. True, I believe that was the issue. Not being visible. And Roman's system modern describes how the two teams of builders missing each other in the mountain, and how later construction of a lateral link between the two between both corridors corrected the initial errors. So yeah, or choose no more than two words. Write your answers. What type of mineral were the Delochi mines in Wales built to extract? यहाँ पे कहीं पे था ये रहा. अच्छा. Remarkably, a modern road still used in its natural tunnels were also built for mineral extraction. Miners would locate a mineral vein and then pursue it with shafts and tunnels underground. Traces of such tunnels used to mine gold can still be found at the Delochi mines in Wales to extract gold, right? Ji. In addition to the patron whose name might be carved onto a tunnel. Name. Most tunnels had inscriptions showing the names of the patrons who ordered construction and sometimes the name of the architect. In addition to the patron whose name was architect. What part of Slonea Peria was the Chalvik tunnel built to protect? In Turkey, built to divert the floodwater threatening the harbor of the ancient city of Slonea Peria, had inscriptions on the entrance still visible today. Chalvik tunnel built to protect harbor. What part of Slonea? I believe so. Yeah.
सर एक क्वेश्चन है.
Sorry, yes.
वो ये कि अगर आपने आइल्स पहले अटेम्प्ट किए तो आप मुझे बता सकते हैं कि जैसे कि अभी यहाँ पर हमने ट्रू ब्लैंक्स फिल आउट किए ना, तो ऐसा हो सकता है कि हम वर्ड्स को कॉपी करके इधर पेस्ट कर दें.
जी जी, वही मैं कह रहा था कि वर्ड्स कॉपी पेस्ट हो जाते हैं रीडिंग में. वर्ड आप कॉपी पेस्ट कर सकते हैं.
मतलब
मतलब ये
जो
जैसे.
सॉफ्टवेयर वहां पर होता है उसमें ऑप्शन होता है, ये पूछना
जी
चाह रही हूँ.
जी 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 जी.
ठीक है सर.
अच्छा सही है. पार्ट टू पे चलते हैं. हो गया ना, ये रहेंगे ना सारे. Good. सही है. द नेक्स्ट वन इज चूज द करेक्ट लेटर. एमसीक्यूज हैं. व्हाट करेक्ट लेटर इन बॉक्सेस ऑन योर आंसर शीट. सिंगल सेलेक्टेबल ही है. सही है. व्हाट इज द राइटर्स मेन पॉइंट इन द फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ. Look around on your next plane trip. The iPad. What are the implications of the way we read today? Changes in reading habits. Okay. Look around on your next plane trip. The iPad is the new pacifier for babies and toddlers. Younger school aged children read stories on smartphones. Older kids don't read at all, but hunch over video games. Uh, Parents and other passengers read on tablets or skim a flotilla of email and newsfeed. Unbeknown to most of us, an invisible game-changing transformation links everyone in this picture. The neuronal circuit that underlies the brain's ability to read is subtly, rapidly changing, and this has implications for everyone from the pre-reading toddler to the expert adult. I mean, hidden fact on us, technology can be used to help youngsters read. Travelers should be encouraged to use technology on place. Playing games is more popular. आई बिलीव इसका बी बनता है क्योंकि ये जो बात की है उसने underlines the brain's ability to read, subtly, rapidly changing, and this has implication on everyone from the reading toddler to the expert. adult. So yeah, the next one. What main point does Sherry Tuckle make about innovation? Sherry Tuckle.
सर फर्स्ट वाले का ए नहीं होना चाहिए.
Our use of technology is having. Oh yes, yes, मैंने वही लिखा था, sorry. ये नहीं बनता, उसका वही वाला बनता, sorry. As work in, sorry. यहाँ पे Sherry Tuckle वाला ये रहा. उसने कहा है कि what main point does Sherry Tuckle make about innovation? It's not the issue of print versus digital reading and technological innovation. पहले तो नहीं आ रहा, I think. As MIT scholar Shari Tuckle has written, we do not err as a society when we innovate, but when we ignore what we disrupt or diminish while innovating. In this hinge moment between print and digital culture, society needs to confront what is diminishing in the expert reading circuit and what our children and older students are not developing and what we can do about it. Has led to a reduction in print reading. We should pay attention to what might be lost when innovation occurs. We should encourage more young people to become involved in innovation. This one makes the most sense. There is a difference between developing products and developing ideas. So do not include like regional language and okay. What is the point of writer making a writer? What is the point? What the point is writer making? And the fourth paragraph. 1, 2, 3, 4. We know from research that the reading circuit is not given to human beings through a genetic blueprint like vision or language. It needs an environment to develop. Further, it will adapt to the environment's requirements from different writing systems to the characteristics of whatever medium is used. If the dominant medium advantages processes that are fast, multitask oriented, and well suited for large volumes of information, like the current digital medium, so will the reading circuit. The dominant medium advantages processes that are fast, multitask oriented, and well suited for. As UCLA psychologist Patricia Gilfield writes, the result is that less attention and time will be allocated to slower time demanding deep reading processes. Humans have an inborn ability to read and write, I think nahi, because it said that reading circuit is not given to human beings through a genetic blueprint. Readings can be done using many different mediums. Writing systems make unexpected demands on the brain. Some brain circuits adjust whatever is required of them. It needs an environment to develop. Further, it will adapt to the environment's requirement from different writing systems to the characteristics of whatever medium is used. I believe this is the one. According to Mark Edmondson, the attitude of college students. Attitude. Mark Edmondson described. Increasing reports from educators and researchers in psychology and the humanities bear this out. English literature scholar and teacher Mark Edmondson describes how many college students actively avoid the classic literature of the 19th and 20th centuries in favor of something simpler, as they no longer have the patience to read longer, denser, more difficult texts. So many college students actively avoid the classic literature of the 19th century in favor of something simpler, as they no longer have the patience to read longer. We should less concerned with students' cognitive impatience, however, than by what may underline it. The potential inability of large number of students to read with a level of critical analysis sufficient to comprehend the complexity of thought and argument found in more demanding texts. Has changed the way he teaches, has influenced what they select to read.
I think सर इसका B होगा.
Does not bring
Demanding text का है तो उसने कहा has influenced what they select to read.
The attitude of college students has influenced what they select to read. Does not worry him as much as it does others. Not massive as of another. I think यही होगा. सही है, आगे आ जाता है कंप्लीट द समरी completion आ गई using the word A to H fast isolated something. Okay, there have been many studies on digital screen use. Showing some trends.
worrying trends.
ये कहाँ पे है?
सर वो जिस्ट इस पूरे पैसेज का जिस्ट तो इसी तरह का है ना।
ये सही है. There have been many studies on digital screen use showing some. Psychologist Anne Megan gave high school students a short story to read. Anne Megan.
अरे ये देखें, पहली लाइन में था उसका, ऊपर वाले पैराग्राफ में, multiple studies show that digital screen use may be causing a variety of trouble.
Troubling downstream effects on reading comprehension. Digital screen use may be causing a variety of troubling downstream.
ट्रबलिंग आया तो मे बी वरिंग होगा.
Hmm. सही है. Psychologist and ये इसी में Anne Mangan and her colleagues studied how high school students comprehend the same material in different mediums. Gave high school students for half using digital and half using print mediums. Plot had universal student appeal. Group asks subject questions about its group understanding the plot was. Her team then used a question and answer technique to find out how
Combined.
Group asked subjects questions about a short story whose plot had universal student appeal. Half of the students read the story on a tablet and half on paper. Like results indicated that the students who read on print was superior in their comprehension to screen reading peers, particularly in their ability to sequence detail and reconstruct the plot in chronological order.
सर मे बी फास्ट आएगा.
How fast each group's understanding of the plot was. So, read comprehension,
थॉरो
particularly
होना चाहिए एच।
sequence and detail and reconstruct the plot. Yes. सही है. आगे आ जाते हैं हम. The findings showed a clear pattern in the responses, with those who read screens finding the order of information dash to recall. Read on screen. The ability to अच्छा, results indicated the students who read on print was superior in their comprehension to screen reading, particularly in the ability to sequence detail and reconstruct the plot. Hard to recall, right? Those who read screens finding the order. Hmm. Findings show a clear pattern in the responses, with those who read the screens finding the order of hard to recall. इसमें किसी को कोई और लगता तो
नहीं हार्ड ये होगा सर, क्योंकि वो देखें उसने पहले कहा कि जो प्रिंट मीडिया पे वो सुपीरियर है, तो कंप्रीहेंशन पे रीडिंग जो है वो थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट होगा.
सही है. Studies by Ziming Liu from San Jose State University has conducted a series of studies which indicated that the new norm in reading is skimming, involving word spotting and browsing through the text. यहाँ पे इसने क्या किया, shows that the students are tending to read dash words. Isolated, I believe. New norm is involving the word spotting because of this, I think, and browsing through the text. Many readers now use a pattern while reading in which they sample the first line and then word spot through the rest of the text. When the reading brain skims like this, it reduces time allocated to deep reading processes. In other words, we don't have time to grasp complexity, to understand another's feelings, to perceive beauty and to create thoughts of readers on. Acha. Tending to read dash words, I think isolated, and phrases in the text to save time. Isolated बनता probably. Okay. हाँ. This approach, he says, gives the reader a superficial understanding of the dash content of material, leaving no time for thought. Understanding of the dash content material. This gives the reader superficial understanding of the. Don't have time to grasp complexity. First, we go assume that Swiss three and other deep reasoning processes will become an entered and quadruple down the road. अच्छा इसका क्या आएगा इमोशनल यस क्योंकि उसकी फीलिंग्स की बात कर रहे हैं सॉरी यहाँ पे we don't have time to grasp complexity and stuff सही है उसके बाद आ जाते हैं हम do the following statements agree with the claims of the writer in the reading passage true false again अच्छा sorry yes no not given okay if the statement agrees with the claims of the writer the medium we use to read can affect our choice of reading content हाँ आई थिंक यहाँ पे हमने पढ़ा था ना ये इसके बारे में so it can affect our choice of reading the content. Common medium advantages perceptive that are fast multitask जैसे देख लेते हैं नीचे से some age groups are more likely to lose their complex reading skills than others. Critical analysis, empathy, and other deep reading processes could become the unintended collateral damage of a digital creature. Is not a straightforward binary issue about print versus digital reading. It's about how we all begun to read on various mediums and how that changes not only what we read but also the purposes for which we read. I think yes, based on this. It is about how we all began to read on various mediums and how that changes not only what we read but also the purposes for which we read. So yeah, some age groups are more likely to lose their complex reading skills than others. Nor is it only about the young. The subtle atrophy of a critical analysis and empathy affects us all equally. Those some age groups are more likely. I don't think that is the case. If the statement contradicts with the claims of the writer, because उसने कहा है कि nor it is only about the young. So वो इस चीज से I think contradict कर रहा है. It affects our ability to navigate. सही. False information has become more widespread in today's digital era. There's an old rule in neuroscience that does not alter with age, or use it or lose it. It is very hopeful principle. Sorry,
ऊपर वाले पैराग्राफ में है सेकंड लास्ट लाइन में
okay.
incentivizes to retreat to the,
ठीक है. It incentivizes a retreat to the most familiar stores of unchecked information which require and receive no analysis, leaving us susceptible to false information and false information and irrational ideas. False information has become a more widespread in today's date. Nor is it only about the young, the social atrophy of critical analysis empathy affects us all equally. It affects our ability to navigate a constant bombardment of information. It incentivizes a retreat to the most familiar stores of unchecked information and which require and receive no analysis, leaving us yes. Yes, I can agree, I think. Okay, we still have opportunities to rectify the problems that technology is presenting. Still have opportunities. It is very hopeful principle when applied to critical thought and reading. The story of changing reading brain is hardly finished. We possess both the science and technology to identify and redress the changes on how we read before they become entrenched. If we work to understand exactly what we will lose alongside the extraordinary new capacities that the digital world has brought us, there is much reason for excitement as caution. We still have opportunities to rectify the problem. इसका क्या बनता है आपके ख्याल में?
यस होना चाहिए, क्योंकि थर्ड लाइन में लिखा है वी possess both science and technology to identify and redress the change
This
in
may
how
happen
we read.
before they become entrenched. Changes in how we read before they become entrenched. To understand exactly what we will do alongside this. चलो सही है. Here comes the last part. Okay, choose the correct heading for each section from the list of headings. Oh my goodness. 1 to 8 in boxes on your answer sheet. So yeah, an increasing divergence of attitudes towards AI. This is why we have more attitudes towards intelligence. Okay, artificial intelligence can already predict the future. Police forces are using it to map when and where the crime is likely to occur. Doctors can use it to predict when a patient is most likely to have a heart attack or stroke. Researchers are even trying to give AI imagination so it can plan for unexpected consequences. Many decisions in our lives require a good forecast, and AI is almost always better at forecasting than we are. Yet, for all these technological advances, we still seem to deeply lack confidence in AI predictions. Recent cases show that people don't like relying on AI and prefer to trust human experts, even if these experts are wrong. If we want AI to really benefit people, we need to find a way to get the people to trust it. To do that, we need to understand why people are so reluctant to trust AI in the first place. This is mostly about trust, I believe, and what it can achieve. So an increasing divergence of attitudes towards AI. Reasons why we have more faith in human judgment than AI. I think इसमें reasons तो नहीं दी हुई, right? इसमें सिर्फ ये बताया हुआ है कि मतलब लोग प्रेफर करते हैं ये. The superiority of AI projections over those made by humans. ये वैसे इसमें बताया गया. The processes by which AI can help us make good decisions.
तक फाइव नहीं होगा इसका.
The advantages of involving users in AI processes.
सर 3 हो सकता है इसका, क्योंकि इसमें लास्ट लाइन में लिखा हो कि we
हाँ
need to
मुझे भी.
understand why people are so reluctant to trust AI in the first place.
The superiority of AI projections over those made by humans.
सर एक मरतबा सिक्स्थ भी देख लें.
जी जी. Widespread distrust of an AI innovation. Of an AI innovation. This might probably be talking about a specific example, I think.
मैंने भी एन अब देखा.
Encouraging openness about how AI functions are surprisingly successful AI application. ये भी about some specific examples होगा probably. The advantages of involving users in the AI process. So यही बनता I think. The superiority of AI projections over those made by humans. Okay. Next चलते हैं. Take the case of Watson for oncology. One of the technology giant IBM supercomputer programs, their attempt to promote this program to cancer doctors was a PR disaster. The AI promised to deliver top quality recommendations on the treatment of 12 cancers that accounted for 80% of the world's cases. I think cases यहाँ पे. But when doctors first interacted with Watson, they found themselves in a rather difficult situation. On one hand, if Watson provided guidance about treatment that coincided with their own opinions, physicians did not see much point in Watson's recommendations. The supercomputer was simply telling them what they already knew, and these recommendations did not change the actual treatment. On the other hand, if Watson generated a recommendation that contradicted the expert's opinion, doctors would typically conclude that Watson wasn't competent, and the machine wouldn't be able to explain why its treatment was plausible because its machine learning algorithms were simply too complex to be fully understood by humans. Consequently, this has caused even more suspicion and disbelief, leading many doctors to ignore the seemingly outlandish AI recommendation and stick to their own expertise.
There may be two, sir. Reason why we have more faith in human judgment than in AI.
But this is about a specific examples जिसमें सिर्फ डॉक्टर्स की बात हो रही है और इसमें आई थिंक कोई भी ऐसा सेंटेंस नहीं था विच वुड इम्प्लाई कि इसकी वजह से सब लोग ये सोचते हैं.
Okay, sir.
Acha, an increasing divergence of attitudes towards AI, the advantages of involving users in AI process, widespread distrust of an AI innovation. Consequences caused even more suspicion and disbelief in many doctors.
वन लग रहा है.
Sorry?
वन लग रहा है.
An increasing divergence of attitudes. I think वो भी AI के बारे में generally नहीं है.
तो क्योंकि यहाँ पर देखिए लिखा है इंक्रीजिंग डाइवर्जेंस और पैसेज में लिखा है इवन मोर सस्पिशन एंड डिसबिलीफ. तो
Leading many doctors to ignore the seemingly outlandish AI recommendation and stick to their own expertise. ओके, और किसी का कोई ओपिनियन है इसके बारे में? एनीवन? आई एम आल्सो leaning towards this one, तो मे बी लेटर ऑन हम इसको देख लेंगे. सही है, अगर ये कहीं यूज ना हुआ तो ठीक है. अच्छा, see, this is just one example of people's lack of confidence in AI and their reluctance to to accept what AI has to offer. Trust in other people is often based on our understanding of how others think and having experience of their reliability. This helps create a psychological feeling of safety. AI, on the other hand, is still fairly new and unfamiliar to most people, even if it can be technically explained, and that's not always the case. AI's decision-making process is usually too difficult for most people to comprehend, and interacting with something we don't understand can cause anxiety and give us a sense that we are losing control. Many people are also simply not familiar with many instances of AI actually working because it often happens in the background, and instead they are acutely aware of instances where AI goes wrong. Embarrassing AI failures receive a disproportionate amount of media attention, emphasizing the message that we cannot rely on technology. Machine learning is not foolproof, in part because the humans who design it aren't. The advantage of I think two. What do you think?
यस सर.
Okay, sorry. Feelings about AI run deep in a recent experiment. People from range of backgrounds were given various sci-fi films about AI to watch, and then asked questions about automation in everyday life. It was found that regardless of whether the film they watched depicted AI in positive or negative light, simply watching a cinematic vision of our technological future polarized the participants' attitude. Optimists became more extreme in their enthusiasm for AI, and skeptics became even more guarded. I think one इसके लिए use होगा. This suggests people use relevant evidence about AI in biased manner to support their existing attitudes. A deep-rooted human tendency known as confirmation bias. As AI is represented more and more in media and entertainment, it could lead to society split between those who benefit from AI and those who reject it. More pertinently, refusing to accept the advantages offered by AI could place a larger group of people at a serious disadvantage. क्या ख्याल है? तो अगर इसमें हम ये सेलेक्ट करते हैं, तो इसमें हमें ये सेलेक्ट करना पड़ेगा.
सर 7 बज चुके हैं, आप फाइंड अप कर लें.
बस ठीक है, आई थिंक फिर इसको क्लोज कर देते हैं. कल यहीं से कंटिन्यू कर लेंगे. सही है. ओ अच्छा, ये मेरे ख्याल हमने आगे पीछे कर दिए. सही है. हाँ, उनके नंबर्स हैं. सही है. और द रेस्ट ऑफ देम वर गुड एक्सेप्ट दिस वन 25. लास्ट वाले अभी हमने किए नहीं थे. सही है. हम आई थिंक इसको यहीं से कंटिन्यू कर लेंगे. बस इसको तो आई थिंक दैट इज इट फॉर टुडे. तो हम जो है इंशाल्लाह कल इसको इसी टेस्ट को कंटिन्यू कर लेंगे. मंडे को, सॉरी, चलो टॉपिक चेंज हो जाना. चल ठीक है. इसमें कोई क्वेश्चंस होंगे तो हम पहले क्वेश्चंस ले लेंगे मंडे को, और लेटर ऑन जो है हम इसमें फिर आगे कंटिन्यू कर लेंगे. आई थिंक राइटिंग आ रही है आगे.
ओके सर, मैं मीटिंग एंड करूँ.